to CNBC TV18's HealthX Conversations presented by Optum. Today, we are diving into one of the biggest shifts underway in global business, the rise of India as a strategic innovation hub for the world. Global capability centers have evolved dramatically. What began as support engines have now become the nerve centers of strategy, digital innovation, and decision-making for global companies. And nowhere is this transformation more visible than in healthcare. At the heart of this change is Optum, one of the world's largest health services and innovation companies whose India teams play a pivotal role in shaping solutions for millions of people globally. To help us understand how India is powering this global shift, we're now joined by Ratnam Krishnan, the Managing Director of Optum India. Thank you so much for joining us here and to discuss, how GCCs are rewriting the future of global healthcare. So let's begin. A few years ago, GCCs were considered as support centers. Today, they are driving strategy. Talk to us about this change, especially the kind of change it's playing in the healthcare sector.
Yeah, it's a story, I think, that's gathering attention everywhere, the GCC story, the GCC and why India is at the center of the GCC story. Roll back a couple of decades at the start of the GCC story, and everybody came to India because they thought India was much less in terms of cost. So it was primarily a cost arbitrage play, which you talked about. But very quickly what happened is that the ability to deliver at scale, but most importantly, without compromising on the quality, became evident, right? So it's a bit like, could we scale up quickly? Yeah, we absolutely scaled up quickly. Now, once you've scaled up, what more can you do? How much can you add value? And you know how the Indian approach to work is. Can we do things faster, better, smarter? We're always quite frugal and we like to innovate, right?
And in a cost-efficient way.
Yeah, and value for money.
Absolutely.
So very quickly, this moved up the value chain, right? It then became not just about service and delivery efficiency at scale, but it quickly became portfolio ownership. It quickly became how can we take end-to-end responsibility and accountability for things that we do? And then that triggered another wave of change, which is today where we are. I would call it GCC 4.0. I don't know where we'll end up, but at 4.0, it's like we moved the needle from being cost, delivery, managing portfolios, to become strategic engines for driving competitive advantage through innovation, right? And that has happened because of the fact that innovation is driving competitive advantage and change across global organizations. So wherever you can find the ability to actually move that forward quickly and at scale, the GCCs have emerged as kind of the central hub to do this, right? So that's kind of what's tilted it. And what has really helped it is the fact that we have an extremely tech-forward workforce. And a lot of that innovation has been driven, while it's driven by technology on one side, it's also about reimagining how we operate. What is the product? How do customers treat products differently? How can we provide customers more value? And then you then put together the fact that a bunch of people are sitting and working in the GCCs, whether it's from business, whether it's from technology, whether it's from operations, and then magic happens. You talk to each other, come up with ideas. So all of that has actually powered us into being way more strategic and actually an innovation engine for many companies globally. Sort of moving on to healthcare, right? Now, this ability to be strategic engines of innovation is even more critical in healthcare. Healthcare is gathering momentum. The three biggest challenges with healthcare have been cost, outcomes, and access, right? So if you look at how this strategic ability is driving some of this, for example, remote consultation, telehealth, AI-assisted analytics, helping our clinicians actually spend more time with the patients rather than worrying about documentation. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and all of this is actually getting to a place where you want to be able to give the customer or the patient in this case, a much better experience and much better outcomes.
Very valuable insights there, Uma, that you made, and we'll delve deeper into some of those in a bit. But let's discuss what makes India uniquely positioned to sort of host strategic healthcare GCCs for global organizations today.
So, you ask anybody, why do you think India is the GCC hub? They'll say talent, right?
Okay.
So let's unpack that talent a little bit.
Yeah.
So yes, we have talent, and it's our big demographic dividend. We have it in spades. We have more than 4.5 million plus STEM graduates every year. We bring a lot of people into the talent workforce. But I think what is important here, and why is it that India is very well positioned to be the GCC of choice, location of choice, and primarily in healthcare? A few reasons, right? One is the talent is now becoming talent that is skilled in many areas which are required for healthcare. What do I mean by that? One is AI capability at scale. Now, we know AI is there in every industry, right? In health and healthcare, AI can be used for real outcomes, which is what I spoke about, impacts people, right? Cost, access, better outcome for care, right? So we have talent who are skilled in AI, but in many aspects of AI, data, cloud, engineering, but kind of putting it all together. And I can almost say AI skilled talent at scale.
Yeah.
We are the second largest country with AI talent. However, that's growing at a fairly dramatic speed, right? So so that's one, right? The second and quite important thing here is, other than AI talent at scale, is the ability to be actually, creating a really thriving ecosystem.
Picking up from what you were just saying, the talent pool, what shifts are you seeing in India, vis-a-vis the kind of skills required or the kind of thinking required that allow GCCs to confidently, sort of strategize and innovate, innovation focused, let them do innovation focused work here?
Yeah. So, like I said, we have a lot of talent, but the talent is actually changing, developing. Their skills are getting a little different. So I think a couple of things which are pretty critical here. One is, when you get the talent on board, they need to be, you need to create the culture of innovation.
Absolutely.
Right? You need to give people the ability the space to think, to come up with products and solutions that are right and relevant. Sometimes it fails, but unless you actually give the space and create that culture of innovation, which we at Optum are really, really committed to. So it's a culture you need to work on. It doesn't happen on its own. But the thing is, what you said, what's the change you're seeing in talent? What we're seeing is that people are hungry. People are ambitious. People want to think outside the box. People want to innovate. People want to engage with startup entrepreneurs. They want ideation. So they're willing to learn and grow, which is a really big positive here, right? If I flip to the leadership, right? Leadership is also changing, right? So with the kind of complex work that we're doing, leadership needs to change from just pure execution to being more strategic. And we're also, given the fact that we're becoming a strategic hub, it's important for our leadership to understand how to work with global environment.
Before we head into a break, I'm curious to know how you're developing this culture of innovation at Optum. You just mentioned, if you can take us through some fun facts.
Yeah, I can. And so few things, right? So we've actually established a fairly structured approach, right, to innovation. But it's still fun, right? It's not sort of process and documents and all of that. We allow people time and energy to actually work with their global teams and come up with better ways of doing things.
Absolutely. And on that fun note, it's time for us to head into a short break. Stay with us. There's much more on how technology, people, and India's leadership are reshaping the future of global healthcare. Stay tuned. Welcome back to CNBC TV18's HealthX Conversations presented by Optum. Uma, thank you so much for those insights. They really set the context for understanding how India is really shaping global healthcare through GCCs. Now, to take the discussion a step further, we're joined by Rohit Agarwal, Senior Vice President and Head for Transformation, Innovation and Enablement at Optum Global. Rohit leads the Global Transformation, Innovation and Enablement agenda for Optum Global, working closely with teams across geographies to drive breakthrough solutions in healthcare. Rohit, welcome and many thanks for joining us here.
Thank you.
Let's start with talking about the person at the center, the consumer. Tell us what kind of innovation are you seeing that gets translated into real day-to-day benefits for the consumer?
So I think, and Uma mentioned this when she was speaking with you, right? Any innovation that we do, we have to keep the consumer at the center.
Yeah.
That is so critical, right? And the healthcare consumer, we're seeing a lot of changes and shifts in their needs. The consumer is very well informed, very well educated, extremely tech enabled, right?
Yeah.
And so they expect a lot of personalization. They expect a lot of convenience, right? And what we are doing is making sure that those are made available through the use of technology. So think about digital platforms. You can go to the platform, you can search for, what are the conditions which are causing my symptoms. You can find doctors, you can get connected to the healthcare ecosystem. So it's basically converting or making you take charge of your healthcare in the palm of your hand. I think that's a big thing. We're also using AI to really advance value-based care. So AI is helping us drive, proactive health risk assessments. It's helping you create personalized treatment plans. We're also combining data elements like, social determinants of health, wearables, electronic health records, putting them all together to be able to create a personalized health plan for you and also be able to identify issues more proactively and reach out to those at-risk population to be able to prevent issues happening in their future. That's helping us drive, lower costs, but much better quality.
All right, Uma, as you look at the next phase of AI adoption, what are the top 2 risks organizations should prioritize, be it talent, governance, technical debt, or change management? What are the top 2 risks according to you?
I wouldn't call them risks.
Okay.
I would actually call them what we need to be prepared for. Because to what Rohit said, AI is going to fundamentally change the experience of the patient, as well as the experience of the doctor stroke clinician and the hospitals.
Sure.
Right? So what do we need to watch out for? Right? One is we need to watch out to responsibly deploy AI solutions.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that the outcomes are right. We need to make sure that we are bound by the ways of quality checks, and the deployment of AI should be within the responsible framework, right? And that's not easy. It's easier said than done.
Absolutely, the regulations,
right?
everything.
Yeah, it's regulation. It's also your own responsibility in terms of how you actually deploy AI. The second thing I would say is around sort of preparedness and of our data. Again, Rohit spoke about it, because AI is as good as the data that you give it, right? The outcomes are pretty dependent on the data. So I think a lot of organizations, healthcare us included, we have a real focus on making sure that we work on the data environments and get the right input so that we can make this even better in an AI-assisted world.
Absolutely. Rohit, again, coming back to you, innovation is often described as the lifeline or the lifeblood of healthcare transformation. For GCCs in India to really move from incremental breakthroughs to those, innovations, it requires more than technology. It requires culture, it requires capability, and of course, collaboration. So how can GCCs really today create an ecosystem that consistently fosters innovation and translates ideas into global impact?
Yeah, no, so you're so right? Innovation isn't, sometimes innovation is just seen as a buzzword, right?
Yeah.
For us, innovation is not just a team. Innovation is a system, it's a process, it's a way of thinking, it's our culture. It's embedded into our systems, right? And I've seen that innovation only thrives where people have that psychological safety that I can experiment, I can ideate, I can bring out my points, right?
Yeah.
And I can have that discussion with people. That is what GCCs and companies need to do. Create that environment where people are comfortable with that. People are comfortable with failing fast. People are failing, but also learning from that,
Yeah.
right? I think those things have to go hand in hand. You can't keep failing. You have to learn from your failures. I think that's what propels ideation, experimentation, and thus, value and innovation. Innovation also has to be purpose-driven, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's healthcare, whether any industry that you are driving innovation, you have to make sure that innovation is directed towards the priorities. Think about healthcare, it's consumer experience, it's quality, it's outcomes, right? All innovation has to be directed towards that. I also think innovation requires a framework, a structure, so that you create a common language, right? Again, like I said, it's not a team, right? You want everybody to be driving innovation. You have to democratize innovation. Only way to do that is create a common language, a framework that pulls in various elements to be able to drive innovation across the company. We do that through a program called Innovate, which is helping us not just think about innovation at an executive level or a leader level, but also making sure that the frontline employees also feel part of that.
Yeah.
My belief is that the best ideas come from the frontline people.
Yes.
And thus engaging them is absolutely critical.
Absolutely. And, Uma also threw some light on this, in our first segment. But, what I want to know from the both of you is then what is stopping this to happen? Why are organizations, still, all of this technology, innovation, collaboration, why are they not being able to merge this together? What is stopping that? What is the biggest challenge that organizations face today?
I think innovation is a maturity. It's a journey, right? You don't start one day overnight. You don't go from 0 to 10, right? It takes time, it takes effort, it takes purpose, and doing things the right way. So I would say that most companies would be on that journey and would take some time, and they have to make sure all these elements are there, right? I spoke about culture. I know Uma also spoke about culture, right? I think that's absolutely critical for everybody to feel part of it. The safety I spoke about. Uma spoke about just that co-location part. We've seen that working really well, right?
Okay.
When you put product, technology, operational excellence, operations together, you're able to bring together diverse views, diverse viewpoints. And that is what helps you really drive innovation, break the silos, and then create products and solutions which you can take to the market in a much faster way.
Uma, as we come to the end of our discussion, give us some insights on how do you help build global leaders from teams here in India, and what skills are going to define the next generation of healthcare leadership?
So as we are shifting further into being strategic innovation arbitrage providers as GCCs, it becomes critical to build global leaders. The way I look at global leaders is it's agnostic where they sit. It's important that they have the skills and the capability to lead global initiatives, global teams. As global centers, we've kind of grown over different phases. And I think to really take full advantage of the potential of this, today and going forward, we need to make sure that we are investing in our leaders to truly become and transform into global leaders. Now, how are we doing some thoughts around this? One is we really need to make sure that we give them opportunities to work in the global environment. One of the critical things here is for the global leader, when you're sitting in a different geography from where the core business is, you need to really understand the experience on the ground. So, investing in getting people to spend time with our customers, with our our providers or hospitals, local teams is critical. So we actually work towards giving people the opportunity to do assignments and roles in a global setting. That's one. The second one, and it's really important, it probably plays into the second part of your question as well, is having people and leaders who understand more than one function, right? This whole thing on silos and this breaking the silos is what drives more value, so it's about giving people the opportunity to work across. Very often I get asked the question, but why would you have somebody like this in this job because he or she does not think about this. I said, that's why.
Break the
Because
silos.
bring them
Better
in,
communication.
you know, because as strategic leaders, you need to cut across
Yes.
more than one function. Otherwise, you can never become a strategic leader, right? So that's the other thing we're enabling. And then we have internally leadership frameworks for development in a global context. And then the last thing I'd say is you got to be a 5-second coach.
5-second coach, elaborate on that.
Why am I saying that?
Yeah.
Because, you know, problems and things change every day. So rather than having long programs, you got to be, as a leader, coaching your people, you know, give quick 5-second inputs. Because I don't know, what is it? Our attention span now is going to get more and more reduced, right?
3-minute reels, that's what we're looking at.
Correct. So I'm saying 5-second coach because you will have multiple instances where you have to coach your people as leaders, right?
Yeah.
But get those in because that's going to be really, really important. We're not going to have the kind of life cycles that we've seen in the past. So it's not going to be an easy job, but it's going to be a challenging one.
Well, that's a great learning, the 5-second coach. That's a new one. That's what I'm going to try and implement as well. Well, thank you, Uma, and thank you, Rohit, for your invaluable insights. And with that, I'll have to wrap up our conversation. But thank you for giving us a window into how India is helping rewrite the future of global healthcare. With that, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching.